妈的，为了公司加班加点，天天熬夜，我工作10几年，我糖尿病都熬出来了。我现在熬不过孙奋斗，你不要撵我走。
Gao Zhulei almost went crazy. He not only broke the glass door, which scared everyone, but he also angrily expressed his frustrations after the company announced his layoff. Gao Zhulei believed this was age discrimination. He threatened that if they fired him, they would have to pay 700,000 yuan in compensation, but the management offered a maximum of only 300,000 yuan. Gao Zhulei couldn't believe his ears. He demanded to sue in the labor court. However, the company wasn't scared. They threatened to drag out the lawsuit. Then, only he would suffer. Worse, they revealed the layoff list came from the Human Resources Optimization System. His team designed this system. In other words, the very system Gao Zhulei created with IT algorithms cost him his job. Gao Zhulei completely broke down. Just this morning, he was having breakfast with his family. He proudly boasted that an IT team leader like him was a key talent in the company. He also had a family to take care of. His father was sick. His wife, following his advice, was a full-time housewife. His daughter had just enrolled in an international school. Also, they still had to pay the monthly mortgage. Gao Zhulei himself had to inject insulin daily to manage his diabetes. In other words, he was supporting a family of 3 generations. Then suddenly, the company fired him. This meant his family's source of income was gone. His life had officially hit rock bottom. But even so, Gao Zhulei couldn't stop. He decided to start over by looking for a new job. 1 month later, Gao Zhulei went to a job interview with his resume. But before he could introduce himself, the recruiters realized a mistake in their filtering. They didn't want to hire someone nearly 50 years old like him, even if he was a veteran programmer. Having no other choice, Gao Zhulei could only leave the office confused. He returned home. His father asked why he was back early. Gao Zhulei lied that a client meeting was canceled. His father got angry. He said he already knew about the layoff. Gao Zhulei, trying to save face, still said he resigned himself. This made his father very angry. Gao Zhulei tried to reassure him that a big company wanted to hire him. He asked his father not to tell the family yet. Gao Zhulei wasn't ready to tell his wife he was unemployed. He knew how disappointed she would be. Another month later, Gao Zhulei chased after a job agent. He had paid the agent earlier to help find a job, but heard nothing back. The agent said he had tried, but Gao Zhulei was old and demanded a high salary, making it very difficult. Gao Zhulei demanded back the 30,000 yuan he had paid, but when he wasn't looking, the agent quickly ran away. The agent even mocked Gao Zhulei. He said if Gao Zhulei couldn't find a high-paying job, he should just become a driver, delivery person, or even a cleaner. This hurt Gao Zhulei's pride. How could a university graduate like him do such hard manual labor? In the following days, Gao Zhulei kept looking for work. One day, on his way somewhere, he received news from his wife that his father had a stroke. Gao Zhulei rushed to the hospital. His wife told him his father had overworked himself to save money. Although he was past the critical stage, his condition was still complicated. The doctor gave Gao Zhulei the bill. Even after paying 100,000 yuan up front, they still owed 140,000 yuan more. They only had 3 days to pay. Having no other choice, he could only swallow his last bit of pride. He contacted the company to demand the 300,000 yuan severance pay offered earlier, agreeing not to go to the labor court. Back home, Gao Zhulei's wife wondered why he hadn't given her his salary for 2 months. She also mentioned the bank called, urging them to pay the mortgage. At this point, Gao Zhulei knew he couldn't hide it anymore. He decided to tell his wife the truth. He had lost his job 2 months ago. Gao Zhulei's wife looked at her husband's exhausted appearance. She couldn't bring herself to blame him. The couple then sat down together to review their expenses. She also said she would reopen her tutoring class to help her husband. Based on their monthly expenses, Gao Zhulei needed to earn 15,000 yuan per month. Gao Zhulei insisted he could manage that amount, but his wife continued, saying because their daughter was accepted into an international school, the amount might be higher. Knowing her husband was struggling, she suggested their daughter could attend a regular school instead. However, Gao Zhulei disagreed. He said he would definitely find a way, even though he didn't know where to start yet. After talking for a while, the couple started arguing. Deep down, Gao Zhulei's wife was still angry that her husband hadn't told her about losing his job 2 months earlier. Clearly, he didn't trust a full-time housewife like her to share the burden with him. They'd been together for 15 years. Gao Zhulei being laid off wasn't a huge deal, but she couldn't accept him hiding it from her, shouldering all the difficulties alone. Gao Zhulei understood his wife's feelings, but he had his own reasons.
我不是让你担心吧？
这是咱们俩的家。
At the same time, both husband and wife shed tears. Gao Zhilei was sitting in a coffee shop. Suddenly, he overheard a food delivery driver nearby named Yang Dashan. Yang Dashan was live streaming and boasting about his income last month, nearly 13,000 yuan. But it was still less than his colleague's 16,000 yuan. A glimmer of hope sparked in Gao Zhilei's heart. He asked Yang Dashan if someone like him, nearly 50 years old, could earn 15,000 yuan a month. Yang Dashan said it was no problem, but he would have to work full-time. However, when Yang Dashan asked if he wanted the job, Gao Zhilei shook his head. He still wasn't ready to enter a profession he previously looked down upon. Despite this, Gao Zhilei eventually went to the delivery station to apply for a job. The manager looked him over once and rejected him immediately. Gao Zhilei thought it was because of his age, but it wasn't. The manager said they didn't discriminate there, but an office worker like him definitely couldn't handle this tough job. At this moment, Gao Zhilei met Yang Dashan. He asked Yang Dashan to put in a good word with the manager. However, the manager still firmly refused. Having no other choice, Gao Zhilei could only tell them about his difficult situation. The manager softened. He told Yang Dashan to get a uniform for Gao Zhilei, starting the trial period right away. Yang Dashan carefully showed Gao Zhilei the work process, accepting orders, picking up items, and delivering them. Everything had to be done within the specified time because late deliveries meant pay deductions. After that, he didn't forget to introduce Gao Zhilei to his colleagues. Looking at the monthly earnings leaderboard, the top person was Da He. Da He spoke little and rarely smiled, but he was naturally gifted at delivery. He also had a secret notebook for finding the shortest routes, but never shared it with anyone. Da He's principle was never to accept pushed orders, so he wasn't popular with the others. Therefore, at this station, his only friend was Lao Ko. They called him Lao Ko because he was very stingy. Yang Dashan introduced Gao Zhilei to Lao Ko, but Lao Ko acted disdainfully and even spat on the ground. Just then, the manager came over and told Gao Zhilei to start work immediately. The manager looked fierce and spoke harshly, but was actually kind-hearted. After the introductions, Yang Dashan took Gao Zhilei to get a scooter. On the way, he reminded Gao Zhilei that to earn 15,000 yuan a month, he would have to work like an ox. Currently, as a newbie, Gao Zhilei could only earn 6 yuan per order. Therefore, he needed to level up to increase his commission per order. Yang Dashan took Gao Zhilei to a tunnel, which was actually a scooter center. Gao Zhilei then chose an electric scooter. But just as he test rode it, he crashed into a row of other scooters. Before starting his first order, Yang Dashan reminded him again, absolutely do not deliver late because he would lose pay. Both started off, but even just riding the scooter on the road was not easy for Gao Zhilei. At the restaurant, while waiting for his order number 32, Gao Zhilei saw later orders being prepared first. He questioned it, but the owner didn't care. Only when Yang Dashan returned and asked the owners to help Gao Zhilei because he was new, did the owner hand him order 32. Gao Zhilei immediately went to deliver the order. But before he arrived, the delivery app started counting down the late delivery time. Gao Zhilei's next order was to a crowded hospital. Once again, the customer scolded him for being late. For the next order, Gao Zhilei had to deliver bubble tea to a school dormitory. He had to wait 16 minutes before the student came down to get it, apologizing because he was busy playing games. Seeing this, Gao Zhilei lectured the student. This made the student very annoyed, and he gave Gao Zhilei a bad review on the delivery app. Returning home after a hard day of deliveries, Gao Zhilei's feet were covered in blisters. But when his daughter asked, he lied that it was from running too much. He also told his wife to hide the uniform, afraid his daughter would see it. When his wife asked about his results, the app showed 15 orders and an income of 97 yuan. But he still lied to his wife, saying he made 30 orders at about 6 yuan each, to reassure her. However, his wife still felt he wasn't suited for this job. She advised him to send out more applications for jobs in his field. She wanted to say more, but when she turned back, she saw her husband had already fallen fast asleep. Perhaps he was too tired today. The next day, Gao Zhilei continued his food delivery job. He went to pick up an order at a shopping mall, but was stopped by security at the entrance. They said delivery staff had to use the back gate. When he came back out after delivering the order, his scooter had been impounded by the police for illegal parking. He was fined 200 yuan. It didn't stop there. Gao Zhilei was then penalized to direct traffic for running a red light. Gao Zhilei felt the situation wasn't sustainable. No matter how hard he tried, bad customer reviews made it useless. Therefore, back at the station, he asked the supervisor to delete the bad comment, but the supervisor couldn't help. Gao Zhilei argued the bad review wasn't his fault, but the supervisor said they were in the service industry, and in this industry, the customer is always right. Another time, because a customer entered the wrong address, Gao Zhilei had to re-deliver even though he was annoyed. When he arrived, he grumbled a bit, and the customer immediately showed attitude.
怪谁？你说怪谁？怪谁？你是不是要一个差评？
不要，
你说对不起，那我就不给你差评。
对不起。
那你这种素质活该一辈子送外卖。
In that moment, all his remaining pride was trampled mercilessly, but even so, Gao Zhulei had to continue his work. Unfortunately, he fell off his scooter. Before he could get up, he received a notification that the customer canceled the order due to late delivery. Gao Zhulei couldn't hold it in anymore. He burst out with all his pent-up frustration. Sitting by the door, Gao Zhulei texted his wife wanting to quit, but before he could send it, his wife called. She reminded Gao Zhulei that today was the day his father was discharged from the hospital, but it seemed he had forgotten, busy with deliveries. Just then, the taxi carrying his father arrived. Seeing this, Gao Zhulei quickly hid his delivery uniform, afraid his parents would see it. Gao Zhulei's father had just returned and wanted to go to the grocery store to arrange things. He had also discovered the delivery uniform his son hid in a box. He was furious. His father couldn't accept that his university graduate son was now a delivery driver. Gao Zhulei explained it was just a temporary job while he was still trying hard to find another one. His mother also chimed in, saying it was all because of his medical expenses. Because of this, his father said he wouldn't continue treatment. Gao Zhulei disagreed. If his father did that, he would be guilty of being unfilial. His father became angry, saying his son working as a delivery driver was the real unfilial act. Father and son started arguing. Gao Zhulei's wife intervened with a few words, which also angered him. When his daughter appeared, he scolded her too, saying it was because she attended an international school that he was suffering more. It was an overwhelming day for Gao Zhulei. He even texted to request the next day off work. The next morning, Gao Zhulei went to see the bank officer because he hadn't made mortgage payments for 2 months. The officer suggested he sell the house. He might lose at least 3 million, but it was better than seeing the bank repossess the property. Gao Zhulei fell into deep thought. Any choice now was extremely difficult for him. At the station, everyone was discussing the monthly earnings ranking. Da He was still at the top. Unsurprisingly, Gao Zhulei was last. His pay slip wasn't much better. Working tirelessly all month, he only earned 4,000 yuan. The manager also thought his performance was affecting the entire station, as he alone received 11 bad reviews in 1 month. The station was lenient with new drivers in the first month, but if it happened again next month, the manager would have to fire him. And so, despite the poor results, Gao Zhulei had to cling to this food delivery job. The next order he had to deliver was to his old company. When he arrived, even though he wore a mask, an old colleague recognized him. The colleague pulled Gao Zhulei inside, introducing him to the new staff as their former department head, now a delivery man. Because of this connection, for the first time, Gao Zhulei received a tip for a delivery, but he felt extremely ashamed and quickly left. At noon, Gao Zhulei had just injected insulin. Before he could eat anything, he received a new order and had to abandon his lunch. While going into a market to buy items for a customer, Gao Zhulei suddenly felt dizzy, but he pushed himself until he collapsed on the street. Passers-by helped him up. He quickly took out his phone to take a smiling photo to confirm the order completion. But despite trying many times, he failed to fake a smile. This led to a 3-day suspension. Gao Zhulei sat lost in thought. He had never found starting over in life so difficult. That evening, while bathing his father's hand grasp made Gao Zhulei even more contemplative. In the room, his mother unexpectedly found a letter his father had written earlier. In the letter, he said his illness was worsening, while Gao Zhilei's situation was terrible, so it was best for him to pass away now. Gao Zhulei cried while reading the letter. He said although their family was at rock bottom, it was nothing compared to his father's youth. Therefore, his father didn't need to worry too much because he would try his best, just like his father did when he was young. His whole family held hands, as if giving each other strength to get through this difficult time. With his family's encouragement, Gao Zhulei seemed ready for a fresh start. The next day, even though he was suspended, Gao Zhulei sought out Da He to ask for guidance on delivering food quickly. After hearing about Gao Zhilei's previous month, Da He immediately saw the problem. He got few orders because he mostly took lousy ones, meaning long distances for little pay. The best way to avoid such orders was for Gao Zhulei to level up. Delivery drivers were ranked in 5 tiers: bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and champion. The higher the rank, the higher the pay per order, and even priority in receiving more orders. The supervisor also showed him he needed to learn how to prioritize orders within seconds and handle logistics well. Regarding route secrets, Da He told Gao Zhulei not to follow the fixed routes on the app map. Instead, he had to find shortcuts between pickup and delivery points. The key point was that Gao Zhilei had to know the area well. Large shopping malls have lockers. Hospitals and schools are often complex, so limit orders there. Everyone noticed Gao Zhilei's serious effort to learn. Even Lau Ko promised to teach him how to juggle orders when free. Also, colleagues taught him that to get orders quickly, Gao Zhilei had to build good relationships with the restaurants. As a delivery driver, attitude is most important, and the final important thing was to always smile at customers, even if they scolded him. Therefore, Gao Zhilei constantly practiced smiling in all situations. The result was positive reviews from customers. Everything was starting to look up for him. During one delivery trip, Gao Zhilei encountered the agent who had cheated him earlier. He quickly chased him down and got his money back. As he left, the agent even complimented his delivery job, saying it looked cool. That was the first time since becoming a delivery driver that someone had praised his work. Another time, Gao Zhilei again received an order to his old company. A group of former colleagues were arguing, but he paid them no mind. Gao Zhilei delivered the items to the intended recipient, not forgetting to ask for a good review. For the first time, Gao Zhilei felt serious about this profession. It was no longer just a temporary job. He meticulously studied routes, working with passion and enthusiasm. Soon, the month ended. Gao Zhilei went from being the bottom-rank driver to gold rank. However, just as things were starting to get on track, disaster struck again. During one delivery, Gao Zhilei witnessed Lau Ko getting into an accident. Lau Ko, trying to save money, had run away from the hospital. Later, Gao Zhilei took Lau Ko home and was completely shocked by his colleague's family situation. Lau Ko's family was poor. All four mouths depended on his delivery earnings. Not only that, Lau Ko's young child had leukemia and needed surgery soon, requiring a large sum of money. What Gao Zhilei admired was that despite such circumstances, Lau Ko remained optimistic about life, and his small family was very happy. Compared to Lau Ko, Gao Zhilei's situation seemed insignificant. The two men sat talking. Lau Ko said about the accident today, if something had happened to him, it would have been a release from the reality of life. But he couldn't bear to leave his wife and child alone in this world. Hardship had made a tough man cry, but responsibility kept them going, fighting against the reality of life. Gao Zhilei returned home to find his wife and daughter asleep. He no longer hid. He quietly kissed his daughter's forehead and gave her a bouquet of wildflowers he had picked on the way home. Gao Zhilei apologized to his daughter for not being able to let her continue at the international school. He promised her he would work even harder. But in his daughter's eyes, Gao Zhilei was already working very hard. That recognition comforted him greatly. He promised to try harder to reach champion rank. Early morning, Gao Zhilei woke up to go to work and met his parents. Just a word of encouragement from his mother made him quietly shed tears.
你看这老头子不得了嘞！那个小超市我要重新开起来了，咱们全家一起加油啊！
At the station, Gao Zhilei introduced his fellow drivers to an app called Route Master, which he had researched and designed himself. He had uploaded all residential areas, schools, hospitals, shopping centers, house numbers, apartment numbers, all lockers and delivery boxes. This would make picking up and delivering orders easier. All the drivers were interested in Gao Zhilei's app. Even the manager looked at him with admiration. And so, life went on. Gao Zhilei befriended the food delivery routes. His wife opened a drum teaching class. His family reopened the grocery store. His father, though, in a wheelchair, also helped out. The whole family was truly fighting together and sharing simple moments. Time passed quickly, and soon another month ended. Gao Zhilei's delivery performance kept improving, but it still wasn't enough to break Da He's top record. At this moment, the manager entered and announced two pieces of good news to everyone. First, last month, for the first time, their station's delivery revenue beat the neighboring station. Second, the person who used to drag down the whole station's performance, Gao Zhilei, had delivered nearly 2,000 orders this month, earning over 10,000 yuan. But Gao Zhilei's joy was short-lived. He heard Da He fighting with some other colleagues outside. Then, Da He declared he quit. The manager angrily told everyone that the food delivery industry was fiercely competitive. If they didn't want to lose their jobs, they just had to focus on working and working more. Gao Zhilei understood that better than anyone. That's why he kept working hard. One evening, delivering in heavy rain, Gao Zhilei saw a female colleague taking shelter under an eave with her son. He didn't hesitate to give his raincoat to the mother and son while he continued delivering in the rain. A while later, while Gao Zhilei was dozing off because there were no orders, some colleagues appeared and invited him somewhere. Everyone went together to a roadside eatery where Da He was drinking alone. The group congratulated Gao Zhilei on reaching diamond rank. At this point, Gao Zhilei noticed the waiter wore a prosthetic leg and asked Da He about it. Da He explained that he and the waiter used to work at the same station. But one day, because he took a transfer order from Da He, the waiter was hit by a truck and one leg was crushed. The accident not only closed the door to college for the young man, but also left Gao Zhilei with lifelong guilt. Not only did Gao Zhilei try hard to work to help the young man pay off debts, but he also vowed never to handle transfer orders again. While everyone was eating, Gao Zhilei about the Routemaster app he was upgrading. Gao Zhilei also proactively gave Gao Zhilei the Delivery Secrets notebook he had compiled over 3 years, hoping it could help him. Gao Zhilei opened the notebook that Da He treasured. He became even more determined to improve his app to perfection, not wanting to betray Da He's trust. The next evening, while delivering, Gao Zhilei saw his wife working part-time at a nail salon. An art enthusiast like her now had to wash other people's feet. Gao Zhilei blamed himself even more. Going down a bridge, his scooter's brakes failed. He crashed into a cart of ceramics. Gao Zhilei had to pay over 5,000 yuan in compensation. Just like that, the gap to his 15,000 yuan monthly goal widened again. Gao Zhilei returned home. He and his wife talked. He apologized for making her suffer. Gao Zhilei also said because he ruined a large order, he probably wouldn't have money for the mortgage this month, so they might have to consider selling the house. His wife didn't blame him. She wanted to eat the cake her husband bought together. Gao Zhilei's wife said before this incident she thought the house was the most important thing. But now she understood that as long as the family was together, even living in a small house would be happy. The next morning, when Gao Zhilei woke up to go to work, he met his father going to the bathroom. His father gave his son a photo of himself when he was young, saying he also lived a very hard life back then. Thinking back, the food delivery job wasn't so bad after all. Finally, his father acknowledged his son's efforts and respected the job he was doing, the job he used to scorn. Thanks to that encouragement, Gao Zhilei continued working. He also decided not to sell the house yet. He went to the bank officer for help, promising he would reach champion rank to earn 15,000 yuan a month and pay the loan. If he still couldn't manage by then, he would sell the house. During the day, Gao Zhilei delivered food. At night, he continued to tinker with upgrading his Routemaster app. Meanwhile, the manager announced that the bonus for this month's champion rank had increased from 2,000 yuan to 2,500 yuan. Not only that, the winner would also attend the annual awards ceremony. As of now, Yang Dashan was leading with 2,002 orders, Gao Zhilei was third with 1,997 orders, and he only had about 4 hours left to change the situation. Thus, the final sprint for the champion rank among the delivery drivers officially began. However, just one order away from the goal, Gao Zhilei was suddenly hit by a truck. Despite this, he still tried to get up and deliver the order, even though the truck driver kept urging him to go to the hospital. Gao Zhilei delivered the items to a bar but couldn't find the recipient. With only seconds left on the clock, he finally completed his order, officially becoming the champion rank driver. It was no longer a forced smile campaign. Gao Zhilei genuinely smiled with satisfaction because all his efforts had paid off. The next day at the awards ceremony, Gao Zhilei became the oldest person to win the Delivery Rookie of the Year award. When invited to share his thoughts, he spoke emotionally.
我们所有的人都是为了生活在奋斗，为了家人在拼搏，为了明天在奔跑，所以我们值得被尊重。
1 month later, while moving house, Gao Zhilei met a new driver. Because the delivery was late, the driver hoped he wouldn't get a bad review. Gao Zhilei not only helped him, but also gave him an extra tip, because he was also a driver. Gao Zhilei's whole family moved to a smaller apartment, but as his wife said, because it was smaller, the rooms were closer together, making it much cozier. The family sat on the roadside, eating and chatting happily. Life was difficult, but incredibly simple and peaceful. Another month later, the Routemaster app developed by Gao Zhilei caught the attention of his old company. The CEO proposed inviting him back to work. Clearly, opportunities can arise even in adversity. As long as we don't give up like Gao Zhilei or the delivery drivers who brave sun and rain, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. The film not only realistically portrays the midlife crisis and the fierce pressures of the modern labor market, but is also a hymn to resilience. Gao Zhilei's journey from a laid-off IT expert to an outstanding delivery driver shows that human value and dignity do not lie in social status, but in relentless effort and adaptability in the face of adversity. Even when hitting rock bottom, there is always a chance to start over and prove oneself in a different way. So if you were in a similar situation as Gao Zilei, facing financial pressure and a sudden career change, would you be willing to set aside your ego and accept a completely different job to continue living? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy insightful film analyses like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from our channel. Your support is our biggest motivation to continue producing quality content. Goodbye, and see you again.